What if I told you that the most powerful healing food on earth isn't in a supplement bottle, isn't behind a pharmacy counter, and isn't the result of decades of modern science? What if it was written down thousands of years ago, in a book that billions of people have read, but almost nobody has actually eaten from? Because here's what most people don't know. The Bible isn't just a spiritual text. It's a food document, a healing manual, a record of what people ate for thousands of years to stay strong, fight disease, recover from illness, and build civilizations from the ground up without a single grocery store, without a single prescription, without any of the processed food that's quietly destroying our health today. And today, I'm going to show you 20 recipes built directly from biblical ingredients that modern science is now confirming are genuinely, powerfully healing. Stick around because the grain porridge that sustained entire armies is on this list. And new research shows it does something to your gut bacteria that expensive probiotics can't replicate. There is also an ancient harvest bowl so nutritionally complete that eating it once a week might change your entire relationship with food. Let's get into it. Ezekiel-style sprouted grain bread bowl. Let's start at the very beginning of food as medicine because the prophet Ezekiel didn't just receive a divine vision, he received a recipe. In Ezekiel 4:9, God gives specific instructions. Wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt. 6 ingredients all in one bread. For centuries, people read that passage and thought it was symbolic. Modern nutritionists looked at it and realized it's one of the most complete protein combinations ever assembled in a single food. Here's how you make it the ancient way. Soak equal handfuls of wheat berries, barley, beans, lentils, fava beans, millet, and spelt overnight. Drain them and let them sprout for 1 to 2 days. Then grind or pulse the sprouted mixture into a thick dough with water, a little salt, and olive oil. Shape into small rustic loaves or flat rounds and bake until firm and brown. Serve warm with olive oil for dipping alongside cucumbers and fresh herbs. Now here's why this matters. Sprouting transforms these grains and legumes in ways that are nothing short of miraculous. It breaks down phytic acid, the compound that blocks your body from absorbing minerals. It predigests the starches. It dramatically increases the bioavailability of zinc, iron, magnesium, and B vitamins. And when you combine 6 different plant proteins, you get all the essential amino acids your body needs, something almost no single grain or legume achieves alone. The reason Ezekiel bread got forgotten is simple. Modern bread is faster, softer, and cheaper to make. But for anyone struggling with mineral deficiencies, blood sugar swings, or digestive problems, this ancient loaf is still waiting for you, exactly as it was written thousands of years ago. Broiled tilapia with hyssop, dill, and olive oil. This dish connects you directly to one of the most famous meals in the New Testament. Fish and fresh herbs cooked simply over heat. And it turns out the specific herbs used in the biblical world weren't chosen randomly. They were medicinal. Rub whole fish fillets with olive oil, crushed garlic, chopped dill, parsley, and a pinch of salt. Add a squeeze of lemon if you have it. Then broil or grill until flaky and lightly charred at the edges. Finish with fresh herbs and serve with sliced cucumbers or bitter greens. Hyssop appears throughout the Bible as a purification herb, and modern research confirms it has genuine antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. Dill was so valued in the ancient world that it was literally used as currency, mentioned in Matthew 23:23 as something people tithed. And tilapia, often called St. Peter's fish, is rich in protein and phosphorus, with a clean, mild flavor that carries herbs beautifully. The olive oil does more than cook the fish. It delivers fat-soluble vitamins and oleocanthal, a compound with anti-inflammatory effects comparable to low doses of ibuprofen. This is a meal that heals while it satisfies. Simple, clean, ancient, and completely backed by modern nutrition. Fava bean mash with garlic and cumin. Fava beans are one of the oldest cultivated crops on earth. They were feeding people in the Middle East and Mediterranean for thousands of years before soybeans or chickpeas became fashionable. And in the biblical world, they were daily medicine. Simmer dried fava beans until very soft. Then mash them with olive oil, crushed garlic, cumin, salt, and a splash of warm water until creamy. Spoon into a bowl and top with parsley, chopped onions, and another drizzle of olive oil. Eat warm with torn pieces of rustic bread. Here's what makes this bowl extraordinary. Fava beans are rich in L-dopa, a compound your brain uses to make dopamine. They're packed with folate, manganese, and copper. And the combination of garlic and cumin isn't just flavor, it's function. Garlic has some of the strongest antimicrobial evidence of any food plant. Cumin stimulates digestive enzymes and has been shown in clinical studies to reduce bloating and improve fat metabolism. This is the kind of meal that leaves you full, calm, and clear-headed, not because of some supplement added to it, but because every single ingredient was chosen over thousands of years of lived human experience. Pomegranate chicken with fresh mint. Pomegranates appear throughout the Bible as symbols of abundance, healing, and divine blessing. And modern science is now explaining exactly why ancient people held them in such reverence. Brown chicken thighs in olive oil, then simmer them gently with onions, garlic, a little pomegranate juice, and crushed pomegranate seeds or molasses if available. Season with mint, coriander, and black pepper. Cook until the sauce thickens and the chicken turns tender. Then garnish with more mint and pomegranate arils. Pomegranate contains punicalagins, some of the most potent antioxidants ever measured in food. Studies show pomegranate can lower blood pressure, reduce LDL oxidation, and has demonstrated anti-tumor properties in early research. Fresh mint isn't just garnish. It contains rosmarinic acid and menthol with genuine anti-inflammatory effects, and it's one of the most reliable digestive aids in traditional medicine worldwide. The deep red sauce from this dish stains the pot and the plate and stays in your memory. It tastes ancient in the best possible way. Rich, slightly tart, warmly spiced, and deeply satisfying. This is a feast dish that also heals. Warm fig and walnut mash with cinnamon. In 2 Kings 20:7, the prophet Isaiah prescribes a poultice of figs for King Hezekiah's infected wound, and the king recovers. Most people gloss over that passage. Nutritional researchers stopped and took notice. Chop dried figs and simmer them briefly in water until soft. Mash with crushed walnuts, a spoon of honey, and a pinch of cinnamon into a thick, spoonable mixture. Serve warm as a breakfast bowl or spread it over toasted grain bread. Figs contain phycin, a proteolytic enzyme that breaks down damaged tissue and has documented antimicrobial properties. They're extraordinarily rich in calcium, potassium, and prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. Walnuts bring omega-3 fatty acids and ellagic acid, a polyphenol with anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective effects. And cinnamon, real cinnamon, has clinical evidence for improving insulin sensitivity and blood sugar regulation. This is breakfast as medicine, sweet, warming, deeply nourishing, and built from 3 ingredients that appear repeatedly in biblical texts for very good reason. White bean and leek, skillet with olive oil. This is the kind of humble dish that sustained people through lean seasons, long journeys, and uncertain times. And it turns out that simplicity was protecting their health in ways nobody fully understood until now. Cook white beans until tender. Then saute sliced leeks and garlic in olive oil until soft and sweet. Add the beans, chopped parsley, a little salt, and enough bean broth to make it silky but not soupy. Finish with cracked pepper and eat as a simple healing supper. Leeks belong to the allium family alongside garlic and onions, and they're mentioned specifically in Numbers 11 when the Israelites in the wilderness mourn losing them. That craving makes sense. Leeks contain prebiotics that feed the gut microbiome, K-ampherol with cardiovascular protective effects, and polysulfides that support liver detoxification. White beans are among the highest fiber foods on the planet, and their soluble fiber specifically lowers LDL cholesterol, stabilizes blood sugar, and feeds the gut lining. This skillet isn't flashy. It doesn't pretend to be, but it does something very quiet and very powerful every time you eat it. Roasted salmon with crushed olives and herbs. Now we're getting into the genuinely powerful ones because this combination, fatty fish, whole olives, fresh herbs, and olive oil, represents one of the most anti-inflammatory meals that has ever existed. And people in the biblical world were eating it regularly without knowing why it worked. Lay salmon fillets in a baking dish and cover with chopped olives, garlic, parsley, oregano, and olive oil. Roast until just cooked through and flaky. Spoon the warm olive herb mixture over the fish and serve with greens or roasted squash. Salmon delivers EPA and DHA, long-chain omega-3 fatty acids that reduce systemic inflammation, support brain health, lower triglycerides, and have documented effects on depression and cognitive function. Whole olives, not just the oil, but the flesh, contain hydroxytyrosol, one of the most bioavailable antioxidants in the human food supply. Oregano contains carvacrol with antimicrobial effects so strong that it's being studied as an alternative to conventional antibiotics. This is a dish that tastes like the Mediterranean coast and heals like medicine. The combination is ancient. The science behind it is new, and together they make one of the most powerful plates you can put on a table. Honeyed ricotta with figs and pistachios. There's a moment in the Song of Solomon where the beloved speaks of honey from the honeycomb and milk, and together they represent the highest pleasure and nourishment the ancient world could imagine. This dish is that moment made edible. Spread fresh ricotta or strain soft goat cheese into a shallow bowl. Top with sliced fresh or rehydrated dried figs, a drizzle of raw honey, and crushed pistachios. Add a pinch of cinnamon and serve with bread or eat with a spoon. Raw honey, not processed but genuinely raw, contains hydrogen peroxide, methyl glyoxal, and defensin-1, compounds with documented antimicrobial effects. Studies show raw honey inhibits bacterial growth, including some antibiotic-resistant strains. Ricotta and soft goat cheese provide easily digestible protein and calcium with far less inflammatory potential than hard-aged cheeses. Pistachios are uniquely rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, antioxidants that protect the eyes, and they have documented prebiotic effects on gut bacteria. This tastes like dessert, it heals like medicine, and it takes about 4 minutes to make. Lamb and bitter green skillet. Lamb was the sacred protein of the biblical world. It was the Passover meal, the offering, the feast, and the bitter herbs served alongside it weren't an afterthought. They were prescribed as written in Exodus 12:8, specifically to be eaten together. That pairing is now understood to be nutritionally strategic. Sear small pieces of lamb in olive oil with garlic and onion until brown. Add chopped bitter greens like dandelion, mustard greens, or kale, plus a splash of water or broth, and cook until tender. Season with salt, herbs, and a squeeze of citrus if desired. Lamb is one of the richest sources of carnitine, the compound that helps your body burn fat for fuel. It delivers zinc, B12, and heme iron and forms your body absorbs with maximum efficiency. But here's the genius of combining it with bitter greens. The bitter compounds in dandelion and mustard greens stimulate bile production, which is exactly what you need to properly digest the fat in lamb. The ancients weren't just pairing these foods together for flavor, they were accidentally creating perfect digestive chemistry. This is the dish that feels ancient the moment you smell it cooking. Deeply savory, slightly bitter, rich with herbs. It's a meal that asks nothing of you except to sit down and eat slowly. Barley porridge with dates and cinnamon, and here is the one I promised you at the beginning. The porridge that sustained armies, fed the poor, and nourished prophets, and that modern gut science is now calling one of the most powerful prebiotic foods ever studied. Simmer whole barley in water until soft and creamy, stirring occasionally as it thickens. Add chopped dates, cinnamon, and a pinch of salt near the end. Spoon into bowls and drizzle with a little honey or goat milk for a comforting, biblical-style breakfast. Barley contains beta-glucan, a soluble fiber so powerful that the FDA has approved a health claim for its ability to lower cholesterol. Clinical studies show barley beta-glucan feeds specific strains of beneficial gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, the compounds that heal your gut lining, regulate your immune system, and reduce systemic inflammation. Dates add natural sugars, potassium, and magnesium in a form that doesn't spike blood sugar the way refined sweeteners do. And cinnamon's blood sugar regulation effects work synergistically with barley's slow-release carbohydrates. Ruth ate roasted barley in the fields of Boaz. Soldiers carried barley bread on campaigns. This grain was everywhere in the biblical world because it grew where wheat wouldn't, fed people when nothing else would, and kept them strong when everything else failed. Modern science is just now catching up to what they already knew by necessity. Cucumber, dill, and goat cheese bowl. In Numbers 11.5, the Israelites in the wilderness specifically mourn losing their cucumbers. Not bread, not meat, but cucumbers, which tells you exactly how important this vegetable was to daily life and daily health in the ancient Near East. Slice cucumbers and toss them with dill, olive oil, a little salt, and crumbled goat cheese. Add a spoonful of thick yogurt if you want it creamier. Chill slightly before serving. Cucumbers are over 96% water with electrolytes, making them one of the most effective hydration foods that exist. They contain cucurbitacins, compounds that reduce inflammation, and fisetin, a flavonoid with emerging evidence for neuroprotection. Dill has carminative effects. It relieves gas and bloating almost immediately and contains volatile oils with documented antimicrobial activity. Goat cheese is easier to digest than cow dairy for many people because of its different protein and fat structure, and it delivers calcium and probiotics in a more bioavailable form. This bowl takes 10 minutes to make and leaves you feeling cool, light, and quietly well. Exactly what the Israelites were mourning, exactly what you should be eating more of. Roasted carrots and onions with honey and thyme. This is the simplest dish on this list and one of the most powerful because it demonstrates what happens when biblical-era cooking wisdom combines ingredients that modern phytochemistry is now cataloging with increasing amazement. Cut carrots and onions into thick wedges and toss with olive oil, thyme, and a pinch of salt. Roast until caramelized and tender. Then drizzle lightly with honey in the last few minutes so it glazes without burning. Carrots are the richest common vegetable source of beta-carotene, which your body converts to vitamin A, essential for immune function, skin integrity, night vision, and mucous membrane health. Onions contain quercetin, one of the most studied flavonoids in human nutrition, with anti-inflammatory, antihistamine, and antiviral effects documented in dozens of clinical trials. Thyme contains thymol, a phenol so antimicrobial it's used in pharmaceutical antiseptics. And roasting concentrates all of these compounds, while the caramelization creates new antioxidant molecules that don't exist in raw vegetables. The honey glaze isn't just sweetness. It's a delivery mechanism that carries antimicrobial compounds into the dish at the last moment, preserving them from the heat that would otherwise degrade them. This is sophisticated food chemistry dressed up as a humble side dish. Sardine and olive plate with fresh herbs. This is the meal that coastal people around the ancient Mediterranean ate every single day, not because they were making a health choice, but because it was what was available, affordable, and satisfying. And they were accidentally eating one of the most cardiovascular protective combinations ever identified by modern nutrition science. Arrange sardines or other small oily fish on a plate with olives, parsley, sliced cucumbers, and torn flatbread. Drizzle everything with olive oil and add cracked pepper and fresh herbs. That's it. Sardines are so nutritionally dense that some researchers call them a near-perfect food. A single serving delivers more omega-3s than most salmon fillets, more calcium than a glass of milk because you eat the tiny bones, vitamin D, B12, selenium, and coenzyme Q10. They're also one of the lowest mercury fish you can eat because they're so small they don't accumulate toxins. Combined with the hydroxytyrosol from whole olives and the folate and vitamin K from parsley, this plate is cardiovascular medicine on a board. The people eating this meal along the Sea of Galilee 2,000 years ago had no idea they were doing something extraordinary. They were just eating lunch. Stuffed dates with goat cheese and crushed almonds. Dates appear throughout the Bible as symbols of prosperity and vitality, and palm trees were so revered that they became sacred symbols in Hebrew culture. Now we understand the nutritional reason behind that reverence. Split soft dates lengthwise and remove the pits. Fill each one with goat cheese. Then roll or sprinkle with crushed almonds and a tiny touch of cinnamon. Serve as a dense, mineral-rich snack plate or dessert. Dates are extraordinarily rich in potassium, magnesium, copper, and manganese, minerals that most modern people are chronically deficient in. They have one of the highest antioxidant contents of any fruit and contain tannins with anti-inflammatory effects on the gut lining. Studies from Jordan found that date consumption significantly improved labor outcomes in pregnant women, likely due to their oxytocin sensitizing compounds. Almonds deliver vitamin E, magnesium, and prebiotic fiber. And goat cheese provides easily digestible protein and live cultures that support gut microbiome diversity. Three of these stuffed dates have more minerals than most multivitamins and taste like something from a feast table. This is the snack that makes you feel like ancient royalty because it's exactly what ancient royalty ate. Rustic wheat berry and herb pilaf. Whole wheat berries, not flour, not bread, but the actual whole kernel of wheat, are one of the most nutrient-complete foods that has ever sustained human civilization. And when you combine them with the specific herbs used in biblical cooking, you get something that's simultaneously a grain bowl, a tonic, and a celebration. Boil wheat berries until chewy and tender. Then drain and toss with olive oil, parsley, mint, scallions, and chopped cucumbers. Add salt and a handful of pomegranate seeds for brightness. Serve warm or room temperature. Whole wheat berries retain the bran and germ that are stripped away in white flour, where most of the fiber, B vitamins, vitamin E, iron, zinc, and magnesium live. Their dense, chewy texture means you eat more slowly and feel full longer, moderating blood sugar in ways refined grain products simply cannot replicate. Parsley in the quantities used here, not as garnish, but as an ingredient, delivers more vitamin C than an orange by volume, and has documented diuretic and kidney supportive effects. Mint adds rosmarinic acid with anti-inflammatory properties, and pomegranate seeds bring punica ligens and tartaric acid for brightness and antioxidant load. This pilaf is ancient fast food, quick to assemble, easy to transport, complete as a meal. It's what people carried into the fields and ate at midday for thousands of years. It still works. Garlic rubbed roasted eggs with greens and bread. Eggs appear throughout the ancient world as symbols of life, beginning, and nourishment. And for the poor of the biblical era, eggs were often the most affordable source of complete protein available. This dish honors that simplicity. Soft boil or roast eggs until just set. Then serve over wilted greens sautéed in olive oil and garlic. Add torn toasted bread to soak up the juices and finish with herbs and salt. Eggs contain all 9 essential amino acids in ratios that match human nutritional needs more closely than almost any other single food. They deliver choline, one of the most important and under-consumed nutrients for brain and liver health, and lutein and zeaxanthin for eye protection. The wilted greens add folate, vitamin K, and iron, and garlic brings allicin, which has documented cardiovascular, antimicrobial, and immune modulating effects that have now been studied in hundreds of clinical trials. This is the breakfast that the working people of the ancient world built their days on. It stabilizes blood sugar, protects the liver, feeds the brain, and fills the stomach without weighing it down. Modern nutritionists who design optimal performance diets often end up reinventing this exact meal. Braised vegetable pot with turnips and beans. This recipe connects to one of the most dramatic food stories in the entire Bible. In 2 Kings 4, a pot of wild herbs and gourds was accidentally made poisonous, and the prophet Elisha healed it. A story that speaks to how central communal pot cooking was to daily survival in the biblical world. Simmer onions, garlic, turnips, carrots, celery, and white beans in a clay pot-style stew with olive oil, parsley, and thyme. Cook slowly until the vegetables soften and the broth turns rich and fragrant. Serve with bread. Turnips are one of the oldest cultivated vegetables on earth and one of the most underrated. They're rich in glucosinolates, the same cancer-protective compounds found in broccoli and cabbage. They contain vitamin C, potassium, and calcium in significant amounts. Long, slow cooking releases these compounds into the broth, meaning every spoonful of liquid is as medicinal as the vegetables themselves. The beans deliver soluble fiber and plant protein. The slow-cooked onions develop quercetin concentrations that aren't present in raw onions, and parsley and thyme release their volatile oils into the broth where they work as antimicrobial agents throughout the pot. This is the meal that keeps a household healthy through winter. It was true 2,000 years ago. It's still true now. Pomegranate, grape, and walnut salad. The fruits of the biblical land, pomegranates, grapes, figs, olives, were so significant they were named among the 7 species blessed by God in the land of Israel. This salad brings 3 of them together in a bowl that is essentially a concentrated antioxidant delivery system. Combine halved grapes, pomegranate seeds, chopped walnuts, parsley, and mixed greens in a bowl. Dress lightly with olive oil and a little honey or vinegar if desired. Toss gently and top with a bit of goat cheese. Grapes contain resveratrol, a polyphenol so extensively studied for longevity and cardiovascular protection that it inspired an entire supplement industry. Whole grapes with seeds are dramatically more potent than grape juice or wine because the seeds contain oligomeric proanthocyanidins, one of the most bioavailable antioxidants identified in human nutrition research. Pomegranate seeds add punicalagins. Walnuts bring ALA omega-3s and ellagic acid that your gut bacteria convert into urolithins, compounds now being studied for muscle preservation and longevity. And mixed greens provide the full spectrum of fat-soluble vitamins that the olive oil in the dressing helps you absorb. This is a salad that would have graced the table of Solomon. It tastes like abundance and heals like medicine. Herb roasted quail or chicken with garlic. In Numbers 11, when the people cried out for meat in the wilderness, God sent quail, enormous flocks of them. And this wasn't just a miracle of provision. Quail was one of the most nutrient-dense protein sources available in the ancient world. Higher in iron and zinc than chicken with a rich flavor that carries herbs beautifully. Rub quail or chicken pieces with olive oil, garlic, oregano, coriander, and salt. Roast until the skin crisps and the meat stays juicy. Serve with roasted onions and olives for a meal that feels ancient, rich, and complete. Quail is richer in B vitamins than most poultry, particularly B12, niacin, and riboflavin, all essential for energy metabolism and neurological function. The combination of oregano and coriander isn't arbitrary. Oregano's carvacrol is antimicrobial. Coriander contains linalool and other volatile compounds with documented anti-anxiety and digestive effects. Garlic salicin works through your immune system from the inside out, and roasting in olive oil creates a Maillard reaction that produces flavor compounds while preserving the fat-soluble vitamins and polyphenols that would be lost in water-based cooking. This is the feast meal, the one you make when you want to feel deeply, ancestrally nourished. It fills the kitchen with a smell that makes everyone come and sit down without being asked. The 7 species harvest bowl. And here we are, the one I saved for last. Because this isn't just a recipe, it's a theology of nourishment. In Deuteronomy 8:8, God describes the promised land by its foods: wheat, barley, grapevines, figs, pomegranates, olive oil, and honey from dates. 7 species, 7 foods. The entire nutritional and healing identity of a civilization encoded in a single verse. Cook wheat berries or cracked wheat and barley until tender. Then layer them in a bowl. Top with sliced grapes, chopped figs, pomegranate seeds, olives, and chopped dates. Finish with olive oil, fresh herbs, and a pinch of salt for a savory sweet feast bowl that brings every biblical healing food together in one place. This bowl contains beta-glucan from barley for your gut and cholesterol, complete amino acids from wheat, resveratrol from grapes, phycin and prebiotics from figs, punicalagins from pomegranate, hydroxytyrosol from olives, antioxidant natural sugars, and potassium from dates, and the olive oil to make every fat-soluble compound in the bowl bioavailable to your body. No supplement stack, no protein shake, no wellness product can assemble this combination of compounds in a form your body recognizes and knows how to use. Because this combination was assembled over thousands of years of human experience in a specific land by a specific people who learned through lived observation what kept them strong, fertile, resilient, and clear-minded. The 7 species weren't chosen for their symbolism. They were chosen because they worked. These 20 recipes aren't a trend. They're not a fad diet. They're not a new discovery. They are the oldest, most tested, most lived-in healing food tradition in the Western world. Written down, preserved, and handed to us across thousands of years. And most of us have been walking past this library every single week without opening it. If these ancient recipes have changed the way you look at the ingredients in your kitchen, please subscribe to our channel and like this video. We are dedicated to uncovering the historical wisdom and nutritional truths that have been buried for centuries. Let's nourish our future by honoring the past. Our next deep dive into the treasures of ancient health will be opening soon.